You all, we are always so honored to come alongside you, and we want more folks to get to join in on the conversation in this hurting, chaotic world. And it helps. If you all feel like you can, we would be so grateful if you could rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, because it just helps us get the word out there. So grateful for you guys. Hey friends, welcome to the Raising Boys and Girls podcast. I'm Sissy Goff.
And I'm David Thomas.
And I'm Melissa Trevathan.
And we're so glad you joined us for this conversation. Let's dive in. Greer Jones lives in England with her husband and 2 boys. She is navigating the joys and challenges of raising a neurodivergent child with special education needs and sharing her everyday experiences on social media. She wants to come alongside parents struggling with sensory meltdowns, parenting challenges, and advocating for the right support. One day over coffee, a friend asked what it's really like to raise a neurodivergent child. As they talked, she admitted, "I wish everyone could hear this conversation. It's so eye-opening." That's when Greer knew she had to create a podcast about the everyday. And so the Unfinished Idea was born, a space where those raising neurodivergent children can find community and support for autism, ADHD, sensory processing, and beyond. This episode is packed with insights and encouragement with our new friend, Greer Jones.
Greer, it is a joy to spend time with you, although we wish we were in your neck of the woods in England rather than Tennessee today, although we love Tennessee. But will you start off our time together by talking a little bit about your family, about your story, about how you found your way to this important work you're doing in the world?
Yeah, so I grew up actually in Seattle, Washington State. So my family, well, actually, none of my family live there now, but that's where we all grew up. And I moved over to England about 15 years ago with a totally different view of what I was going to be doing with my life. But I married a Brit, got married, 2 kids. We've just bought a house. So England is home now. And it's through actually really my son, who's inspired so much of what I do now. So when he was 2, which he's 6 now, we started just noticing he was responding and processing the world differently, and just kind of, it was a mixture of, we're coming out of COVID, which in the UK, we locked down. We were complete lockdown. And my husband working in medicine, he's in the hospital. So we were kind of even more locked down just because of knowing what he kind of could bring home. And so some of it was that, is this just him, he had his first year of life was normal, but then right after his first birthday, the world literally shut down. So is this just a year of being stuck with mom in the house? Or is this, what is this? And so we just started exploring kind of what is autism and what is ADHD, and even dyslexia. We thought, maybe because his speech was really delayed. And so we just really started kind of exploring that and realizing that it's much bigger than him, if that makes sense. The way I describe it is we kind of were going through this process, and we were being told by the outside world that he wasn't right, but they couldn't tell us why. They couldn't tell us exactly what was happening. Why was he acting out? Why was he, he could say numbers, but he couldn't say words. So our house for a long time, which slightly backfired on us, but for a long time we're labeled in numbers because that's how he could communicate. And so we just felt like we were in this kind of I felt like I was on a hamster wheel, just kind of constantly, being told things, but then being like, okay, well, what can we do to fix that? What can we do to help him? What can we do, to support him? And kind of being told there's nothing out there. And so as we kind of were on that hamster road, the world just got more and more isolating, more and more overwhelming. About a year ago, 18 months ago, it came to a point where I felt like I was in a pitch black maze, told to get my way out. And that's so isolating, right? You're in a pitch black maze. You can't see how to get out. And there's two things I always say that helped me get out was one, my faith. I'm so grateful that Jesus is the light. I believe that he's the light of the world. And so he helped me get out. And two, it was using my voice. So I started sharing about our everyday, and just what it was like, because even myself at one point, didn't think my son was autistic because, he could do certain things. He could function, and not even realizing that there's a spectrum of autism. I mean, that's like, I very much say like, I'm learning on this journey as much as everyone else, because that's where I thought I was 3 years ago. I wouldn't have ever thought my son was autistic. But here we are, because there's a spectrum. And so, as I spoke about our everyday, people just kind of started coming out of the woodwork and being like, oh yeah, my son has autism, or my daughter does, or I know someone, or, and just kind of realizing that our everyday, it matters. And there are people out there who are scared to share their everyday because of the stigmas. But also there's people out there who want to support families, but they don't know how, or they don't know what questions to ask. And so, so that's kind of why I started a podcast called The Unfinished Idea. But kind of from the podcast, growing this community, online and in person, to kind of just remind people that they're not alone, and that there are people out there who are going through similar things. It may not be exactly the same, but are doing these similar things. But there's also people out there who want to support. And so, it was really exciting. This is kind of a slight tangent, but a month ago, we had our first, what I called ally meeting. So in person,
Wow.
a group of people who aren't neurodivergent, aren't autistic or ADHD or anything, but wanted to know more and how they could support. So we all met, and I just shared my story and shared things that helped me. I had another friend with me who shared her story and kind of things that have helped her. And we left them with loads of paper and resources of like things to ask and ways to just give practical help, which was really fun. It was really encouraging to see there's 15 people there. So that was really fun.
That is fantastic.
You have these great 5 quick facts about neurodiversity on your website. And would you begin by just sharing those with us to help educate folks listening who may be newer to understanding what neurodiversity is?
Yeah, these 5 facts are, like I said, just quick things. So the idea, number 1, is neurodiversity as a definition is a range of differences in individual brain function and behavioral traits. So I know for myself, I thought neurodiversity just talked about neurodivergent brains, but actually it's the whole brain. So neurotypical and neurodivergent brains fit under the umbrella, which for me that's a really key thing. It kind of goes into the next point of there's a whole spectrum. So people have, a whole spectrum of needs, whole spectrum of capabilities and how they process. And so what works for one person may not work for another person. And so realizing that every individual is an individual and not just a robot or a machine. And then again, neurodiversity is beyond autism and ADD or ADHD, which that's the most common two. I won't lie, those are the most common two, but OCD is under neurodiversity or neurodivergent. Dyspraxia, which is thinking of things differently, dyslexia, dyscalculia, are all under the neurodivergent umbrella, which I know those are slightly less common, but they're still there. And then neurodivergent people, which this is probably one of my favorite ones, are 200% more likely to become entrepreneurs. So think about Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, and Richard Branson. And just that idea that they think so far out of the box. They are your problem solvers. They are your critical thinkers. They are the ones who will see a need and go, yeah, I can fix that. And as I've gotten to know so many more neurodivergent people, and just the every day that they're overcoming, I'm just like, yeah, I can see that being very true. And then lastly, it is estimated roughly, it's now actually closer now to 20% of the world, of the population, to be neurodivergent. So that's roughly 1 in 4, 1 in 5 people who are neurodivergent, which again, it's that spectrum. So there's a big range. But it's something that is growing, and it's growing because our knowledge is growing, not because things are causing it, but just, our knowledge and how we know more about neurodivergent brains is growing.
Well, you speak beautifully to the joys and challenges of raising a neurodivergent child. Will you share about one challenge you're facing currently and one joy you're experiencing?
Yeah. So one challenge is meltdowns. My son, first, I just want to clarify, meltdown and tantrum aren't the same. I know the world can see them as the same, but a meltdown is an experience that, to an extent, that they can't control. It's their bodies telling them that they're overwhelmed. It's the body saying, I can't do this anymore. I need out. And it's kind of because a lot of neurodivergent brains are in fight or flight mode constantly. That overwhelm, they kind of have a fight moment. And so one meltdown that happens in our house, we are on a break from school, but school is a very hard thing for my son. He has a lot of sensory processing differences. And so things like clothes or the ticking of the clock, they all add up over the day. And so when he gets home, he will have a meltdown where he just cries. It depends on the day. I'll be honest, it's not always the exact same. But he will cry, he will kick, he will scream, he can throw things sometimes. And that's hard because I want him to, as a mom, I want him to be better, as in like, I want to help him. I want him to enjoy school. And although he does enjoy the learning and the kind of social side of school, there are other aspects that are just difficult for him. So I would say meltdowns is a hard challenge. But the joy of seeing him learn and grow, and just see his creativity. So he's gotten really into Dogman. So neurodivergent brains hyperfocus, and his hyperfocus right now is Dogman. And he can tell you anything and everything about it. I did not know this world existed until about 3 weeks ago. But it's so fun to see him be excited about it. He really enjoys art. And so he's been drawing all these different kind of Dogman characters, and to an extent kind of creating his own kind of comic, really, just kind of how he's doing this. And then he'll tell you a story using the pictures. So it's really fun to see him kind of, just find joy in that, and kind of a new thing for me to learn as well.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I love it. And now a quick break to hear from one of our incredible sponsors who make the podcast available.
David, do you know what I'm concerned about?
Me eating too much queso.
Yes, but also
Me not being able to work technology.
always concerned about that. But also the hidden dangers of traditional nonstick cookware. They're loaded with forever chemicals. And why switching to toxin-free cookware is an amazing decision if you care about your and your loved one's health.
The Our Place 4-piece cookware set is the best way to overhaul your kitchen with multifunctional, high-performance, space-saving pots and pans.
There's a huge cost-saving value. Buying the 4-piece cookware set saves you $150. Plus, they all match in Our Place's famous colors.
Their colors are incredible. I have an in Sage, and I use Our Place cookware every day. The set includes 2 multifunctional always pans and 2 perfect pots in mini and full sizes that replace a bulky, expensive stack of cookware With just 4 pieces, you can sear, saute, fry, bake, boil, roast, steam, and more.
Our Place's products are trusted by Michelin star chefs and have over 80,000 5-star reviews.
Stop cooking with toxic cookware and upgrade to Our Place today. Visit FromOurPlace.com/RBG and use code RBG for 10% off site-wide.
With a 100-day risk-free trial, free shippings, and returns, you can experience this game-changing cookware with 0 risk. David, we're going to play a game.
Oh, I love games.
Okay, finish this sentence. Over 30% of Americans...
Love tableside guacamole.
Yes, likely so, but guess again.
Dreamed last night about a brisket taco.
I think that was only you. Over 30% of Americans have a sluggish liver, a problem that often goes undetected until the very last minute. Dose is on a mission to educate us all on why it's so important to maintain your liver health, and has created an incredible product to help you do just that.
Dose for Your Liver was formulated to cleanse your liver of unwanted elements, aid digestion, and maintain your body's filter. Your liver is the second largest organ in your body and is responsible for over 500 functions in your body.
The liver produces and regulates cholesterol, stores vitamins and minerals, and impacts digestive and metabolic health, among many other things.
Save 30% on your first month of subscription by going to dosedaily.co/RBG or entering RBG at checkout.
That's dosedaily.co/RBG for 30% off your first month subscription.
And now back to the show. For a parent who is new to this journey and feeling overwhelmed by all the information out there that's available, where would you even encourage them to start?
Yeah, this is a great question. So obviously it depends on where you are in the world. In the UK, your school is a great place to start. They don't have all the answers. I have learned that, but they will give you at least one website where you can go and it kind of gives you a domino effect. In the US, that's not to say in the US school isn't a great place to start either. But I'll be honest, Google is great for any place, but when you Google, I would be careful of what you're actually Googling, because there's a lot of information out there that could be wrong, and it can just make you spiral really quickly. I know for myself, I would Google things. I Google a lot. Is this a normal 3-year-old behavior? Which I'm sure every parent Googles something like that, but and getting that conflict of messages of like, yes, it's normal. No, it's not. It's, all of these things. So the thing I would just kind of also say is find a friend. If you're in a church, ask your pastor. I'm sure they'll, if 1 in 4 people are neurodivergent, the church will have someone. So ask a friend or a school friend if you feel comfortable kind of sharing that. So I would also want to say, like, you're not alone. I know it's so overwhelming when you're, in my experience, we literally were told his diagnosis through a letter. And there wasn't anyone else on the screen. It was literally got through the mail, read the letter, and then that was it. That was it. Like, I was like, okay. And although we knew, like, it wasn't a shock, it was still just very isolating, even in that moment. And so just, to say, like, you're not alone. You might have to ask. I had to ask. I have had to ask a lot, but you're not alone, and just start asking, and you don't have to share everything about your child's diagnosis or even your diagnosis, but kind of just start asking, and it's amazing to see who comes up.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, we love that you talk about sensory-friendly tips with kids. Would you share a couple of those with our audience?
Yeah. So the first thing that kind of was an eye-opening moment for me was sensory doesn't have to be very expensive. I know, don't get me wrong, we have some great little sensory things that have cost an arm and a leg, but we also have rice. So rice is a great sensory tool. Both my sons love it. I have 2 sons. Both my kids love it. Our neighbor kids ask for it when they come over. We're actually doing an impromptu Easter egg hunt on Saturday, and it's going to be there. Rice will be there for people to play with, because that's what they know us as, is like the rice house. So just putting rice out. We have a plastic tray, and I've colored some rice, so it's not just quite plain white rice, but it's just rice. It's out there. We'll put some cars in it, things like that. So my first tip is like, just use what you have. Sensory doesn't have to be expensive. And then the other thing is like thinking about what your child's interests are. So one of my kids loves cars, so we'll add some cars into it sometime just so they can build and play. And it's amazing just to see their imagination work through that, and to see that. And so just think about what your kids like to do and go for it. And then the other thing that I've actually recently learned more about, which makes sense, but water, there's a lot happening when you're experiencing water. So for example, one sensory activity I love doing in the summer is my kids will do artwork on our fence with the hose. So again, essentially it's a free activity that they will do for probably a good 20 minutes. We do have to do timer sharing because, I only have one hose, fortunately, and I have two kids, but, just doing that. But how water is relaxing to watch, the sound of water is relaxing. And then them kind of using it to do something that helps kind of their motor skills. So anything with water is amazing. It can help not just neurodivergent brains, but any brain. If you stand in water, it needs to be clean. Let me clarify, but clean water, for 10 minutes, it can reset your body, which is amazing. I just think that's so amazing that we have so much water and we can do that. So
yes.
Those kind of are some sensory friendly tips of just things to do, and that they can just be free. They don't have to be expensive, I think I would want to say.
It's great.
Thank you.
When you think about other adults, so grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, coaches who will care for a neurodivergent child, what do you want them to know, and how would you say they can best offer support?
So I think I'll answer the second one first. But the best way to offer support is ask questions. I know that seems silly, but asking questions, I know when people have asked me questions about our son, it's made me feel heard and made me feel seen, and that they actually care about my son and what is going to work for him. They want to know. And so, don't maybe ask 10 questions, but, ask a question of, hey, someone sent me an article about a sensory activity, and they're like, hey, I don't know if this would be fun for you guys, but it made me think of you. That totally made my day to know that they thought of that, which seems really silly to send a quick link in a text, but that was, those kinds of things. And so I would just say, just ask questions, and, kind of, if you think of something, send it to them. They may not always respond. I'm horrible at responding in the moment. It takes me a few days, but, just know that they appreciate it and kind of do that. For them, though, to kind of, I think, help them, I guess what I want them to know is, one, you can still have a relationship with them. Even if, so I think about my parents and the relationship they have with both my kids. Not only is my child autistic ADHD, but we also live 4,000 miles apart. So it's a very different thing. But how my parents have adapted to knowing, what, some days he's not going to talk to them on FaceTime because he just needs some downtime. Or when they come, so they come and visit and usually stay for a month or longer. And so knowing, again, when they come, he's not going to always hug them, and that's okay. He's not always going to, kind of just do, I don't want to say normal things, but, just kind of take his time to do things. And I mean, we have, interesting situation of when my parents do come, we go through a schedule with them and say, this is what to expect in the morning. This is his routine. This is how he gets dressed. This is how, kind of, we really go through things like that, which if you're not living with them, you probably don't necessarily need to go through all of that. But, if you are going to look after them for a weekend, then things like that are
So
good to know.
important.
Because any sort of, twist in the routine can trigger a complete spiral, and then it's unhelpful for everyone. So
Yes. And now we're going to take a little break to hear from one of our sponsors who makes this podcast possible. We had another crazy month of travel, promoting 2 new children's books coming out soon and planning some big surprises for the summer and fall.
I need a nap just thinking about it all.
I have to turn my brain off and watch a fun show.
I need Needed.
Aren't you clever? Needed helps all of us feel more energy, mental clarity, and resilient through products we've come to know and love.
Needed is a brand we trust for nutrition products that support all stages of parenthood, from preconception to postpartum support and beyond. They're backed by over 4,000 nutrition and health experts, including OBGYNs, midwives, and dietitians, and the brand really understands the unique needs of parents.
A Needed survey found 90% of breastfeeding women expressed difficulty concentrating, 87% said they felt forgetful, and 83% expressed difficulty with mental clarity, like brain fog. And I bet 100% of them need a nap, bless their hearts. The mental load on women is heavy, from stress to caregiving, multitasking, technology use, and the unique demands of everyday life. I am loving taking Needed's cognitive and stress support. I've noticed better focus, attention, mental clarity, concentration, better ability to cope with stress, and better energy. And we want that for you too.
And they even have products specifically designed for dads too. I love their men's multi. It supports everything from libido and sperm health to brain function and hair coverage.
If you're looking for products that can optimally support your brain health, mood, energy, mental clarity, and replenish your nutrient stores after having 1 or more kids, check out Needed's comprehensive line of nutritional products. Head over to thisisneeded.com and use code RBG for 20% off your first order.
That's THISISNEEDED.com and use code RBG for 20% off your first order.
And now back to our show. Well, we love that we get to share a network, TSF Network, for our podcasts. And your podcast that you mentioned, The Unfinished Idea, we would love for you to talk about what you hope folks gain from that. And also, if they're new to this journey, where's a jumping off point? What are a couple of episodes that they could start to listen to?
yeah, so I started the podcast kind of for, well, I don't know if 2 reasons are the right word, but for people to feel seen and heard, for the parent who is going through this to go, I don't feel like I have anyone else, or I just want, I think about, I was at the playground and hearing other parents chat about their children's experience at school and knowing I wasn't experiencing that. And so just a place where parents can hear those stories and go, yeah, I've experienced that, or I know what that's like, or, I'm not quite going through that yet, but I'm preparing to, or whatever. So have a place where parents can feel seen and heard. But then also a place for, like I kind of mentioned, that ally, that person who wants to support a family or a person who's neurodivergent, but doesn't know how and isn't sure what questions to ask. And so kind of be a place where they can also learn about the everyday. I think I kind of always say we're trying to replace the stigma with life experience. So they can hear voices of, this is what the everyday looks like for us. This is what we're going through. And so, yeah, just really kind of offering that kind of journey for both, for both kind of people, and just have an opportunity to, have those everyday conversations is kind of what I say. And I like to say it's like you're just joining in 2 friends having a cup of coffee and sharing life. You're just, it's very informal, very just, yep, we're just going to jump in and have this conversation. So yeah, if you're new to your navigating the neurodiverse world, or new to wanting to support someone, or even just new, I know sometimes I was talking to someone who their son is autistic and is 25, but yet she feels like she's new to what's happening and kind of engaging. And so I would say start with the first episode, which is my story. I share a lot of what we've gone through. I've shared a lot of kind of things we've learned. And then, I'm totally biased and say like every episode's great. But
Get that.
so I would start with that one because it just shares a lot of kind of sets a good foundation of what the podcast is. But it's been amazing, just the doors that have been opened through it. And we've had, a very well-known author, Meredith Cartier, who talks about ADHD. She's about 6 weeks ago. So she's kind of newer, which that was an amazing conversation about ADHD. We have Christy Wright shares about her story as well, of kind of their whole family's journey of finding out different kind of processes and how their whole family kind of works. So there's something kind of for everyone. And I think it's important to say as well, I've tried to really think about every neurodivergent brain. So not just focusing just on autism or just on ADHD but kind of having them all mixed in throughout, because that's how it often works in the neurodiverse world. They're kind of all mixed in. So having that.
What do you wish someone had said to you on the front side of this journey?
That's a very good question. I would have wanted someone to say to me, one, you're not alone. And two, it hurts right now, but it's going to be okay. Having, gone through that period of loneliness, I just don't want anyone to ever feel that. So anyone listening, I want you to know you're not alone. I think I say it a lot, but it's just, your village is already small. Your community is already very small, but yeah, the idea that you're not alone. And that, again, that idea of it hurts right now because you're in the amount of times I felt hurt by what someone has said or the system, no matter where we are in the world, the system is broken. And so the idea that it hurts, but it's because I've just not given up, because my husband and I have gone to all the meetings, have, we've met with so many different people within our school, that we are in a completely different place. And I know they'll be, ask me again in 6 months and we might be in a place where it feels hurt again, but I know I can hold on to the idea that right now where we're sitting, is in joy and is in kind of seeing the fruit of our work, take place. So.
Yes, which is such an encouragement. And I think for parents out there right now who might be feeling hopeless, discouraged, weary, is there any final encouragement you would want to offer them?
Yeah, no matter what your faith is, Jesus is the hope that I have clung to. I have literally wept on bathroom floors of different places, crying out to him saying, God, I can't do this. Like, literally have said that so many times. But knowing that he's with me, knowing that as much as, seeing my son struggle, that there will be a day where he doesn't. And, knowing all of that, it just has given me hope. And so, yeah, if you're feeling weary, if you're feeling overwhelmed, take comfort in knowing that God sees you and he hears you, and that he wants to be near you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Greer, we end every episode with something fun and food related. So we've got a 2-part question for you. Part 1 is queso or guac, and part 2 is what's your favorite taco?
So this is a hard question because in England, they do not really do Tex-Mex or Mexican food. So, and I'm missing this. This is what I get whenever I come visit my parents. It's guaranteed we will have at least 5 meals, even if I'm only visiting for 5 days, 5 meals. So, but I will say queso all the way. I love a good guacamole, but I can kind of make it here, whereas queso I cannot make in the UK at all. That just, I don't know why, it just doesn't work. And my favorite taco is it's just the classic beef taco in a soft shell. I'm not a big fan of hard shells. With, just with some cheese, lettuce, tomatoes. There you go. It's great. Saying that, I'm just like, it kind of makes me sad that I now can't go make that. So.
We wish we could ship you one.
We do.
Yeah, my parents do ship me the taco seasoning, like the big
Good.
like kind of Costco thing. So I can kind of make it tacos here. There is a big debate in our house between burritos and enchiladas because my husband, who's a Brit, does not understand which one's which. And so he'll ask for a burrito and I'll do burritos, but he thinks what he really asked was enchilada. It can get very crazy here. So
it's a very important distinction.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the time.
It's a joy to spend time with you, Greer. So thankful we finally met. I hope our paths cross again, and we'll make sure you get more Mexican Tex-Mex food when we're together, all right?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been fun to chat with you guys.
You too.
David, what a team we have that we get to call friends who help make this podcast possible.
Amanda Young, our operations manager.
Chris Starrett, our engineer.
Our management team at H Squared.
And we are thrilled to be a part of the That Sounds Fun network.
Our music was created by the insanely talented Dave Haywood of Lady A.
And if this podcast felt helpful to you, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, all the things.
We are grateful for you and cheering you on always.